Okay, so this is a lecture on factoring, not the AC method way. So they call it trial and error method. So let's start off with kind of a simple one with a leading coefficient of 1. So that would be y squared plus 15y plus 36. All right, so we start this off by looking at the last term because first term is just a 1. So we factor the 36. 36 factors into 1 and 36, 2 and 18, 3 and 12, 4 and 9, 5 doesn't go in, and 6 and 6. And we've met in the middle. So those are all of our factors. Now, we need to know kind of a few little things to look for. The sign of the last term. So, last term sign, kind of the meaning of it. So, if it's a positive, like this one is, that means we're looking for a sum, and we're going to have the same sign. Okay, if it's a negative, that means we're looking for a difference. Okay, and they have different signs. Okay, because multiplication to get plus means either plus plus or minus minus, so that's what we mean by same sign, right? Plus plus or minus minus. And then multiplication to get a negative is only plus minus, right? Or technically minus plus, but it's the same thing. So we can only have those two options. This one, we have the same, but two options there. Okay, so it's a plus for the last term sign, right? Meaning then that, okay, we're looking for a sum of the middle number. So which of these has a sum of 15? That's what we're saying. Well, 3 and 12 sum to 15. Meaning we're going to factor it out. First term is just y squared, so it's y and y. We want 3 and 12 for the last term. It's a plus 15, so when it's a plus here, same sign, right? Plus plus or minus minus, the only way to get plus 15 is with plus 3 and plus 12. Okay, that's really it. That's factoring, right? And to check it, we really only need to check kind of two parts of FOIL. We're guaranteeing the first, right? Because, well, y squared is y times y. And we're guaranteeing 36. 3 times 12 is 36, right? That's first and last, guaranteed. Now, if we think about the middle term, that comes from the outer inner multiplication. So the outer here gives us 12y, the inner gives us plus 3y. That combination is 15y, which is what we were looking for. So that's factorization. Of course, that one was a leading coefficient of 1, so it can get a little bit more difficult. Okay, let's look at another example. If we have 3y squared minus 30y plus 63. All right, there's one thing that we need to look for first in every factorization problem. You must always look for commonality. So 3y squared, 30y, and 63. They don't have a variable in common because this one doesn't have a variable, but they all do have a 3 in common. So we can factor a 3 out and make this factoring a whole lot simpler. So if we factor 3 out of 3y squared, we're left with y squared. 3 out of 30y is minus 10y. 3 out of 63, 3 goes into 6 twice, 3 goes into 3 once, so it's 21. So that's just simplifying so that we can factor. We're not done factoring. This will factor more, just like the previous one did. So again, now it's a leading coefficient of 1. We need that 3 out there, but it is not part of this factorization. So we're really just now thinking about the 21. So 21 is 1 and 21. 2 doesn't go in, so then 3 and 7. 4 doesn't go in, 5 doesn't go in. So we're good. Okay, so then now we have our groups, right? We know y and y. Now we need to think about, do we need a sum or a difference? It's a plus. We know plus means sum. So we want a sum of 10. Forget about the minus for a second, right? We just want a sum of 10. Well, it has to be 3 and 7, right? So 3 and 7. Now we know that means the same sign, either both plus or both minus. It's a negative 10, so they're both minus. That's the factorization. You must remember to keep that 3 out front though, otherwise it will be completely incorrect. You would then be factoring just that, but the original problem had the 3 part of it, so we would need this as part of our answer. Okay, so that's when you don't necessarily have a not one leading coefficient, but we have to make sure that we factor everything out before we factor this method. Okay, so then let's look at this one. If we have 5y squared plus 11y plus 2. All right, now, leading coefficient is not 1, and they don't have anything in common, right? Because they don't all have a y, and 5 and 2 don't have anything in common. That's enough. So then we need to look at the factors of the first term number and the last term number, okay? Lucky for us, they're both prime numbers, so there's one option kind of thing. It's 1 and 5 and 1 and 2. So now it's a plus, so that means we need to kind of find a combination of multiplying those together that give us a sum of 11. Okay, so that means if we multiply, pick one of these numbers and pick one of those numbers, basically, and what's left gets multiplied together as well. So if we put 1 with 2, so 1 times 2, and then plus, because we're summing, 5 has to go with what's left, is 1. Well, that's 2 and 5 plus, that's 7. That's not 11, so this is not the right combination. So we don't want to put 1 with 2. What about 1 with 1? That's the only other option, right? So 1 times 1 leaves 5 and 2 together. 1 and 10, well 1 and 10 is 11. That is the right combination. So let's see how we need to write this out in our groups. We know y and y. Leave some space because there's numbers in front. We just don't know kind of how to put them, right? The first numbers, we can just go ahead and put them in because, well, there's nothing else there, so it doesn't matter where we put them. Now, it does matter where we put the last numbers, right? Because we want to multiply the ones together, they cannot be in the same group. When we FOIL, we don't multiply these together, right? We just multiply this with both of these. That means the 1 from the 2, basically, needs to go here. Meaning the 2 goes there. Plus means same sign. Plus means both pluses. So again, check the outer inner for the middle term. Outer would be 1y. Inner would be plus 10y. That's 11y. Okay? If writing it out like this confuses you, you don't need to. Just think about the combination of these, right? 5 and 2 make 10 plus 1 is 11. Okay? You can still think about it kind of the same way. You're doing this in your head. It's just sometimes writing this out can be a little confusing. Okay, so let's do one more. Okay, 15z squared plus 17z plus 2. Okay, so they all don't have a z, and 15 and 2 don't have anything in common. So it's kind of, there's no common terms or common factors. So that means we need to look at the factors of the first and the last. 15 is 1 and 15, or 3 and 5. That's it, right? 2 is just 1 and 2. Now, again, it's a plus, meaning we want a sum of 17. Well, the 15 kind of makes us think maybe we're almost there, right? If we multiply it with the 2, well, that's too big. That's getting us up to 30. We can't come back down because we're doing a sum. So what about the 15 and the 1? Well, that's 15. And then 1 and 2, well, that's 2. 15 and 2 is 17. See how on that one we didn't write it out and you kind of just talk it out? It does it kind of the same way. So our options, we used 1 and 15, so that means 1z and 15z. We just need to figure out what we want to multiply together. We did not multiply the 15 and 2 together, so that means they go in the same group. Okay, if they do not multiply, then they can go together. So that means the 1 goes here. Plus, same sign, it's a plus, so plus, plus. Check the outer inner. So outer is 2z, and the inner is plus 15z, which is 17z. Okay, that is factoring by what we call the trial and error method.